Lewis Hamilton and Charles Leclerc started Friday at Spa separated by just 0.06 of a second. By the afternoon, that gap had exploded to almost 0.8. Same team, same power unit weakness, same circuit, yet Hamilton stayed fourth, while Leclerc dropped to 11th, more than 1.5 seconds from the front after losing his fastest lap to track limits. And that deleted lap does not explain everything. Both Ferrari drivers had already exhausted their energy store allocation. Both were facing the same Spa power deficit. Both were caught inside the same tire return investigation. So this was not one driver receiving a better engine. It was something much more serious. Hamilton found a way to keep Ferrari's fragile package under control. Leclerc did not. Now Ferrari has to answer one brutal question. Did Hamilton simply execute the better Friday? Or has Spa exposed a much deeper setup problem that only one side of the garage understands? Because if Ferrari cannot close this gap before qualifying, the biggest battle in red may not be against Mercedes, McLaren, or Red Bull. It may be Hamilton versus Leclerc. The first thing Ferrari must understand is that the gap did not begin with the engine. Both drivers were carrying the same power unit weakness. Both had already used their complete energy store allocation. Both were operating at the most energy-sensitive circuit of the weekend. And both were working inside the same Ferrari package. That removes the easiest explanation. Hamilton was not suddenly given more power. Leclerc was not clearly driving a weaker engine. The difference appeared somewhere else. Inside the balance. Inside the setup. Inside the way each driver adapted when the track changed. And that is what makes Friday so uncomfortable for Ferrari. In the morning, there was almost nothing between them. Hamilton was second. Leclerc was third. Only 0.06 of a second separated the two cars. That is not a meaningful performance gap around Spa. One slightly better exit can create it. A cleaner tire preparation can create it. Traffic can create it. And Hamilton had already experienced that problem. His first soft tire attempt was disrupted. At one point, he was more than 0.6 away from the pace. Then he found clear space. He produced a clean lap. And immediately, he moved a second. That moment revealed something important. Hamilton did not need the Ferrari to be perfect. He needed the lap to become understandable. Once the traffic disappeared, he could place the car where it needed to be. He could manage the tires. He could build the speed. He could deliver. Leclerc was right behind him. So Ferrari entered the second session with what looked like two equally competitive drivers. But the afternoon demanded something different. The grip level changed. The track evolved. The setup became more sensitive. And suddenly, the tiny morning gap became impossible to recognize. Hamilton stayed fourth. Leclerc fell to 11th. The difference grew to roughly 780 thousandths. That is not a normal swing between teammates. It suggests that one Ferrari remained inside the performance window while the other moved outside it. Think of two people walking through the same narrow doorway. The first turns slightly and passes through cleanly. The second catches a shoulder, hesitates, adjusts, and loses momentum. The doorway has not changed. The difference comes from timing, positioning, and confidence. Ferrari's Spa setup may have created that same kind of narrow opening. Hamilton found the angle. Leclerc did not. At least, not during the second session. And once Leclerc lost his fastest lap to track limits, the pressure became even greater. That deletion clearly made his final position worse. Without it, 11th may not have represented his true raw speed. But the deleted lap does not remove the deeper problem. The lap did not count. And in Formula One, usable performance matters more than theoretical performance. A driver can be fast enough. The lap still has to survive. The car must remain inside the track boundaries. The tires must remain alive. The battery must deliver at the right moment. The driver must control all of it at once. Hamilton did. Leclerc did not. That is the difference Ferrari had to investigate. Not simply who was faster, who could convert the car's potential into a legal, complete lap. Track limits often look like a small mistake. One will goes too far. The lap disappears. But the reason the car reaches that boundary can reveal a much deeper struggle. A car that refuses to rotate may push wide. A nervous rear may force the driver to open the steering. A weak exit may encourage the driver to use every remaining centimeter of track. A power deficit on the straight may pressure the driver to recover time through the corners. The source does not prove exactly why Leclerc crossed the limit, but it does prove the deletion mattered. And it also proves that the deletion alone did not explain the full size of the gap. Something else was missing. That is where Hamilton's Friday becomes more impressive. He was not dominating. He was still 747 thousandths from a fastest time. Ferrari still had work to do, but Hamilton remained connected to the leading group. He prevented the car's weaknesses from becoming a complete collapse. That is often what experience looks like. Not a spectacular lap. Control. A driver feels that the car is imperfect. He does not fight every weakness at once. He chooses where to accept the loss. He protects the tires. He collects information. He stays inside the session. That matches Hamilton's own description of the day. Ferrari completed a good amount of work. The team gathered useful information. Those words sound simple, but they reveal his approach. Hamilton was building understanding. Leclerc's comments carried a different message. Ferrari had also done plenty of work on his side, but there was still room to improve. Again, that sounds routine. Every driver says more performance is available, but when one teammate is 4th and the other is 11th, the phrase becomes heavier. Hamilton had reached the stage of refinement. Leclerc still needed recovery. That difference matters because the clock was already moving toward qualifying. A driver refining a car can focus on small details. A little more front response, a little more stability on exit, a cleaner tire warm-up, a better use of electrical deployment. A driver recovering from a difficult session has a much larger problem. He must first understand why the lap disappeared. Was the balance wrong? Was the wing level wrong? Was the tire preparation wrong? Was the car too nervous through the fast sections? Was the setup producing too much understeer? Was the deleted lap hiding enough speed to make the final position misleading? Ferrari needed those answers quickly, because Spa punishes uncertainty. This circuit demands opposite qualities from the car. The long straights reward low drag. The middle sector rewards downforce. The fast corners reward stability. The power-heavy sections reward strong electrical deployment. Ferrari already carries a known power deficit. That means the team cannot simply add wing until the car becomes comfortable. More wing creates more resistance. More resistance makes the straight line weakness worse. Remove wing and the car becomes more efficient, but the driver may lose confidence through the corners. That compromise affects both drivers. The interesting part is how differently they appear to manage it. Hamilton stayed inside the top 4. Leclerc fell outside the top 10. That suggests the same limitation did not feel the same inside both cockpits. And this is where driving style becomes important. Two drivers can receive similar cars and ask for different things. One may want a sharp front end. He wants the car to respond immediately when he turns. Another may prefer more rear stability. He wants confidence that the back of the car will remain planted through the corner. Neither approach is automatically better. The problem appears when the setup window becomes so narrow that only one preference can be satisfied. Ferrari may have found a balance Hamilton could tolerate. Leclerc may have needed something different. That does not mean the team favored Hamilton. There is no evidence of that. It means the car may have responded better to one driving approach as the conditions changed. And once that happens, the gap can grow quickly. Imagine wearing shoes that are slightly too loose. One runner changes his stride and adapts. Another continues running naturally and begins sliding. The shoes are the same. The response is different. Hamilton may have adjusted his style to protect the Ferrari. Leclerc may have continued searching for the aggressive response he wanted. If the car did not provide it, the lap could become harder with every corner. A little hesitation on entry, a little correction at the rear, a slightly weaker exit, a little more track used. Each loss is small. Together, they become almost 0.8. This is why the final timing screen can be misleading. It shows one large number. The real gap may be built from several tiny compromises. 1/10 in the first sector, 2/10 through the middle, a weaker final section, a deleted fastest lap, a different tire state, a different energy map. Add them together, and the teammate comparison looks brutal. Ferrari needed to separate those pieces. It needed to know whether Hamilton was genuinely more comfortable or simply cleaner. It needed to know whether Leclerc had more speed hidden inside the deleted lap. It needed to know whether the setup directions had separated. And it needed to do all of this while both cars were already under another kind of pressure. The tire return investigation affected Hamilton and Leclerc equally. Ferrari had completed the electronic return process, but the physical tires had not been handed back to Pirelli before second practice began. That created official scrutiny around both cars. The investigation does not explain the performance gap, but it changes the environment around it. The engineers should have been focused only on understanding the setup. The team manager also had to answer the stewards. The drivers should have been preparing calmly for the next session. The garage now carried an operational problem as well. That kind of distraction can become expensive, not because it directly removes lap time, because it divides attention. One group studies handling, another checks procedures, another examines tire records, another looks at power unit data. Ferrari entered the weekend with one known weakness. By Friday evening, it was solving several different problems at once, and the largest visual symbol of that pressure was the gap between the drivers. Hamilton had managed the chaos. Leclerc had been caught inside it, but we should be careful with that conclusion. One difficult session does not prove a permanent hierarchy. Leclerc's pace did not disappear. He had been almost identical to Hamilton in the morning. The source confirms that. The afternoon result may have been shaped by one deleted lap and one setup window that moved away from him. That can be corrected. A cleaner qualifying attempt could erase the entire narrative. A small setup adjustment could bring the cars together again. But Ferrari first had to understand why the gap opened so suddenly. Because a gap that appears slowly can be monitored. A gap that explodes in one session is more dangerous. It suggests sensitivity. The car may work well only under precise conditions. If the track temperature changes, the balance moves. If the wind changes, the rear becomes less stable. If the tire preparation changes, the grip disappears. A robust car allows both drivers to adapt. A fragile car punishes one small mistake. Friday suggested the Ferrari might be fragile. Fast enough to threaten near the front. Sensitive enough to push one driver outside the top 10 only hours later. That is the real warning. Not that Leclerc suddenly became slow. That the car's usable performance may be too narrow. Hamilton found it. Leclerc lost it. And Ferrari now had to decide whether to bring Leclerc toward Hamilton's setup or search for a different answer. Copying the faster teammate sounds logical. It is not always simple. Drivers need different balances. A setup that gives Hamilton confidence may not give Leclerc the same feeling.